that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. On March 11th, 2021, public notice of this meeting was posted on the town website and on the bulletin board in the town offices at 10 Front Street. As provided in the public notice, the public may access this meeting online or via telephone. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call. Let's start by taking roll call in attendance. When each member presents themselves, please also state if there's anyone with you and what relationship that person represents to you. I'm John Merkel, and no one is with me. Bill?
Bill Campbell, regular member. Nobody's in the room.
John?
John Gruder, planning board rep. No one in the room but myself.
Laura?
Laura Fay, treasurer, and no one in the room with me.
Okay.
And Jay Myers, vice chair.
I'm sorry, Jay. We lost you.
Last but not least.
Okay. Has everybody had the opportunity to review the minutes of February 16 and 24?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Liz. You did a nice job. Is there any comment? On the
I'll move that they, oh, go ahead, John.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say I'd move that they be accepted.
The minutes of February 16 and February 24. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Minutes are accepted. Maura, anything on the Black Heritage Park update?
Yeah, we had a public presentation on February 19th. That was pretty well attended. It was presented on Zoom, and there were 26 attendees. It was also broadcast simultaneously on Facebook Live, and there were a handful of folks who watched there. The link is available for anybody who wants to watch the presentation. It was great, I think. It was very informative. The members of the committee just, shared a little bit about sort of their connection to the topic and some thoughts about, planning for the park and what it might look like, or, how it might represent Exeter's Black history. So I don't believe we have another meeting scheduled just yet, but I'm sure that'll be coming up sometime in the next few weeks. And hopefully we'll have more to report. I don't know that we got any specific questions from anybody who was in attendance that I remember anyway. So I think that's about it.
Good. Thank you.
And that, if anybody's interested, the video for that is available. Exeter TV has a YouTube channel, and I think as well it's on the streaming service. I'm not sure exactly where, but there's a couple of options to watch it if people are interested to see what the presentation looked like.
That's available on the town website?
I believe so. I'm not that conversant with the town streaming service, but I know it's also on their YouTube channel. The town has a YouTube channel. So for me, that's the easiest way to get to it.
Thank you. I'd like to, next item on the agenda is I'd like to continue discussion of the proposed neighborhood heritage area. We left the meeting on the 24th with a bunch of questions that we hadn't answered. And over the course of the past several weeks, I've been thinking about this, and I would like to maybe pose the idea to the fellow commission members here that we kind of like maybe change the focus of what we're doing right now. I would like to try to engage, have the public engage this more directly. And I think a starting point would be best for discussing what is good about this neighborhood. I'd like to start with that, and I think I would like to have the representatives from this area do it, and come back to us. And from that point, I think we can have a better understanding of the questions at hand right now. That they're all over the place. I don't see an intelligent way to even address them, because it's almost like a panic attack. And there has been some emails popping back and forth that indicate to me that there are people out there that want to learn more about this. And I think it's going to have to happen with them being more directly involved with it. Now, Garrett, do we have public members present here?
Yeah, John, I see, if you click on the participants button at the bottom, there's a list of public attendees. So you'll see there's panelists, and then there's attendees.
Which one do you want to give permission to talk first?
Okay, I got it. Thank you, Maura. That was very helpful. Okay. How do my fellow commission members think of this strategy?
I've got a couple of thoughts, if you don't mind. I know that a few people had reached out to you, John, indicating an interest in being on sort of that planning committee to draft some guidelines. And I guess I wonder, because it feels to me like a lot of the questions and the concerns are really coming from a place of, we don't have a firm plan to lay in front of people and to say, here's what this could look like, and with some specifics, and have something fleshed out to discuss. So I guess what I wondered was whether it would be possible at this point to take those folks who'd indicated an interest in being part of that sort of drafting committee, and give them a charge of, let's draft something so that we'll actually have something firm that we can discuss. Because I don't feel like a lot of these concerns can be allayed until there are some draft guidelines to really talk about.
I agree. There's nothing here. A lot of the questions that we're being presented with are kind of almost arbitrary. They are they're looking for something to criticize.
Well, there's a confusion to me between what we're trying to do and what a historic district does. And I think Maura's got a good idea, and I guess it's yours too, John, and maybe one or two commission people should meet with a group that's interested and see what we can come up with as a plan or as a program.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the public participants how they feel about this.
I see several folks with hands raised, John. I'm not sure how we go about calling on them. I think Garrett may need to take care of that for us.
Yeah, it's just whichever one you want to hear first.
We'll start from the top. Doug?
Oh, that's me, John. Doug's name always gets top billing.
Oh, hey, Eileen.
Hi.
Hi.
I think Maura's point is well taken, and I also think that it would be helpful for all of us in the neighborhood to get a sense of maybe what other towns have experienced. I know this is a fairly new phenomenon, but what might have been the 1, 2, 3, 4 process that helped people explore the idea and then sort of refine it. Because I think this neighborhood has a wealth of wonderful stuff going for it. And I think that's mostly the sense of the focus I see for a project like this. And to provide more neighborhood involvement in decision making and things like that. And I don't see it as regulatory so much as empowering the neighborhood. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
Well, thank you. I
like her expression of empowering the neighborhood. I think that's more than the regulations too. I like that.
I. Smith.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Ian Smith. I'm a resident in the area. I certainly, I think my main questions, and Maura, how are you? I liked your ideas on, getting some of the community members kind of involved in kind of writing out the kind of the draft and the ordinance and whatnot. I think my main questions or comments on it are really come down to benefit and limitation, right? So as an individual property owner or homeowner in this neighborhood, really kind of that Cliff's Notes version of what are the benefits that the community receive from this, and as a homeowner, what are the limitations then that would be sitting on there? And if there are no regulatory limitations on what an individual homeowner can do, then excellent. I just think that I probably owe it to you guys to read more about this, but at the same time, everybody's very busy, and I think some bulletized Cliff Notes, get questions out and get them answered. But those were some of my initial questions, are truly just around the benefit of and what are the limitations of being having my house in this area. If that makes sense.
Does anyone have any questions?
No, I think that's a good way to sort of try to structure it. Help us all understand, what those pros and cons might be.
Good. Sarah.
Hello, can you hear me? This is
Yes,
Sarah, 83 Park Street. And Eileen actually said exactly what I was going to say first, in that I think it would be really helpful not only to get something in writing in that kind of Cliff Notes style to help people understand, but really benchmark against what other towns have done that have already implemented this, and almost presenting those as positive case studies. And John, I really liked what you said really resonated about seeing in the good in this, right? I think that when something affects them personally, you go to that place of fear in terms of the limitation and what does this mean? But to me, I have been so excited and read the whole heritage report with such glee and abandon as an old house aficionado and somebody who loves being part of really old historic houses and community. And I really see my role is owning an old house as a steward as much as it is a homeowner. And so I like the thought of just framing this as really good. And it's, how can we as individual homeowners be community stewards of this really old and unique heritage? So I'm very excited about it. I have limited time, but I'm happy to help. Maura can connect with me to help out as much as you all need.
Well,
thanks, Sarah. That's actually, John, that's the word that I meant to mention is stewardship. Because the more I've thought about it over the last few weeks, the more I feel like the meaning I want to convey is that, I feel this strongly, and I hope many other old homeowners do too, that I'm a steward of this house for this generation and however long we own it. And I hope I won't be the last owner. And I hope that this neighborhood will see many more generations. And, I would like to steward it into the future, just as we have stewarded our public lands, our conservation lands for the future and for other generations. That's kind of the way I'm looking at this work. So, Sarah, thank you for reminding me of that word.
Yeah, we used to say it at the Preservation Alliance that you don't really own a home, you just take care of it. Yeah. Okay. Jane, are you?
I think it's Janelle.
Janelle?
Janelle.
Yes, I'm here. Hello, I'm Janelle Sonder.
Hi.
Nice to speak with you all. So when I first heard of the idea of this project, I was really, really excited for it. And when I started reading all of the information that was provided, particularly the Neighborhood Heritage District Handbook, I got really nervous. And part of the reason is we just closed on the home. We chose this area not because of the structure of the homes or the look of the neighborhood, is absolutely because of the people here and the proximity to everything that we want to go to, but mostly the amazing people here. And when I read through the handbook, specifically pages 21 and 22 of the 30-page handbook, that is an example of what we're looking to potentially do, it made me really nervous. It talks about demolition. Of course, no one wants to see these old homes demolished, but it does get into removal of a porch or altering the size of a window or removal of landscape features. And I'm even thinking, what if we put up a fence? What if we want to put some sun, what are they called? The what are they called? Sky view?
Skylights.
Thank you. Skylight. Or if we wanted to change our windows in our attic, which we cannot seal because they're round. This house has not been updated in a really, really long time. So by us choosing to be a steward of it is going to involve us upgrading it and making it more efficient and making it more energy sustainable for our family and for the environment. And some of these things in the handbook made me like, whoa, this is changing a lot, because if this was a historical district, honestly, I wouldn't have even considered moving to it because of the restrictions that can be placed on how you update something or how, what materials you have to use. And it can be really costly and limiting. And so I know that many of our questions have come from that place of panic because we literally just bought here. And some of our views of how we had planned on updating this home that has not been touched in a very long time to bring it up to standards of today I feel a tiny bit threatened. So that's where I'm coming from.
Well, Janelle, I think we all appreciate your comments, and I don't think it was the intention to ever present this as being regulated to the extent of the historic district. And I would think that there's an opportunity here for you folks, all of us that are in this area, to take that into consideration. Just identify what's really important and focus on that. It's understandable. I accept your criticism and your concerns, but I think we can address them. I think they can be addressed. Does anyone else have? Jay, yes.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment, and thank you, Janelle, for your thoughtful insight and first excitement, and then also sharing that your sort of nervousness about some of the guidelines that were in the handbook, and it prompted me just to look at it now, just so that I could be most familiar with it in this conversation. And and this is coming from an appendix part of the handbook, and so my interpretation here is that it's a framework or a guideline for the committee and the community to use, but it does not necessarily in need of full adoption. In fact, under the headings that you were referencing, it offers the reader that these are, to choose from some or all of the following based on applicability. And I'd even go so far as to say choose some or all or none of the following based on applicability. So from what we're proposing, what John is mentioning of getting the community together is to be able to talk about what that might be and to choose and define and refine and put language to how the group wants to move forward with it.
Thank you. I would like to say I definitely want to be involved, and I think that that's going to help this project be very successful is by having the community members involved in creating exactly what this is, so that we're all on board. Because there's been questions of whether or not people can opt in or opt out that have not been answered. And I think that having more people opt in, it will be a more likely result if you have more people involved from this neighborhood.
Well, that is the intent.
Yeah, thank you.
Heather. Heather?
Hi there. Hi there. Heather Sheehan. I'm a Locust Ave resident in the neighborhood affected as well. So I've lived in my home for, almost 20 years now. And I just, like others, we love this neighborhood. We love the people. Haven't seen a lot of kind of aesthetic changes in the last 20 years that have kind of really raised my eyebrows in terms of making it, a neighborhood, aesthetically speaking, that I wouldn't like to be a part of. But I guess my question is really around process. So I get that you guys are working on, what would it look like if we implemented this? What are the pros and cons of it? But my question is around process. So how do we as a town, neighborhood, and heritage committee pass, if we decide to pass this, how does that happen? Is it a vote of the neighborhood landowners? Is it the town in its entirety? Is it just the committee? How does it work in terms of that process to implement it if we choose to?
John, do you want me to pull up the list that you put together from our October presentation? Because you did a pretty thorough kind of step-by-step.
Yeah, there was 6 or 7 processes there.
Yeah. I'm just digging up that document, and then I'll do a share screen. All right, give me just a moment here.
Thanks, Maura.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so this is the slide I was talking about. So John, I know you were the one who put this together. Do you want to kind of talk through the steps?
Well, this is just kind of like a summary of the the handbook in terms of what needs to be done as part of the process to make it happen. And what we're doing right now is we're trying to engage the owners, and we didn't do a very good job of that in the beginning. I think thank you all for sticking with us, because I think we have reached a turning point now. But the planning board is probably one of the key elements in this that needs to be convinced that the neighborhood really wants to do this. And they are ultimately the ones that are going to be overseeing what takes place here. And the 7 processes here are in order of have to be done. We need to present a proposal to the planning board, what wants to be done. But in the meantime, we do need to, as a neighborhood, we need to get the people in the neighborhood to, as I said, acknowledge what is working for us, and in the same time draft up documents that will fall under these subtitles. And that needs to be presented to the planning board as a pre-proposal. Does anybody else want to comment on this? Or
I think if we're looking at this kind of steps 2 and 3, I feel like we haven't presented a proposal to the planning board, although we have had some conversations. Obviously, John Gruder is here to represent the planning board, so he's able to keep them apprised of where we are in the process. But I think this kind of 2 and 3 right now is where we're at, where we're kind of needing to draft something that people in the neighborhood can get behind, that can be presented to the planning board as this preliminary neighborhood plan. Now, again, it's a preliminary plan, so that's where I think it's really important to get as much input as possible, so that the plan is palatable to everybody, and it makes sense, and then it can be presented to the planning board.
3C seems to be the roadblock right now. People aren't. They're looking for something to critique.
So just to clarify, based on what I see here, so the steps involved in terms of getting approval and implementing includes, once the proposal is complete, reviewing that with the planning board, having them approve, and then it goes to the town to vote. Is that step 5? Is that the entire town that votes, or is it the neighborhood homeowners?
I believe that is the whole town, because it's a zoning. It's a zoning change.
Zoning change. So it's the whole town. So really, at this point, we need then to get the ball rolling, but they have it prepared so that next year when we're voting, that'll be included.
Okay, so conceivably, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, if the majority of the area affected are not behind the plan, and it is approved by the planning board, the town could hypothetically approve it and implement it without the neighborhood being fully behind it. Is that correct?
I don't believe that'll happen. I wouldn't propose it to the planning board unless there was a majority support behind it. There'd be no reason for us to get involved unless you want it.
Okay, and how will you obtain the majority support from the neighborhood?
That's yet to be determined, but the fact that there's a handful of you here today, that's good. That's a good sign. And we need to build on that. And, whether there's some kind of informal poll or not, I don't think anyone on the Heritage Commission wants to do a lot of work for something that's not going to happen. So we need, to continue to engage the property owners and get more and more support, in order to move forward.
I think, ideally, Heather, I see your point. I mean, hypothetically, could that happen? Sure. Nobody here wants that to happen. And I don't think that there's any way that it would truly happen, that the town would vote to approve something that nobody in the neighborhood wanted. I think, in order to try to get the best sense of how many people are in favor of this, I think we're going to need those draft standards for everybody to be able to take a look at and say, yes, this works for me. Yes, like 75% of this, and this I feel like we need to change. And, as we did before, we were able to send out mailers to every household in the proposed district. So I don't see why we couldn't do a poll of some kind, send out, I don't know, not an actual vote, but a sort of, state your opinion here before it even gets presented to the planning board, so that we could say, out of the however many households, 90 households, X number were in favor of this proposal, X number, Y number were opposed. If it's Y number opposed and that's most, then maybe we don't even present it to the planning board. Maybe it gets dropped. But I'm hopeful that we can pull together some proposed standards that people can feel comfortable with and that everybody can get behind. And I think absolutely it makes sense to have a good, some strong support for this before it comes to the planning board, because otherwise there's really no point in presenting it.
Thanks, Maura. Could I suggest, and then I will, I'll let somebody else ask questions and speak. Could I suggest that you add a step 3D to poll the neighborhood and present results on approval or assent from what is being proposed to the committee?
Yeah, I can make that edit.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to close this out. Are we all set with this list? Do I need to leave it up?
I don't think so.
Okay. Then, now, of course, that I've started screen sharing, I won't be able to stop. There we go.
Doug McCallum.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, Doug.
Okay. I'm a member of the Exeter Historic District Commission, and I'm also an architect and an urban designer. And I've actually had experience developing design guidelines for a couple of cities. And I just have to say that my main concern is that this group that you're in will be tempted to overreach and get involved in details that really will make it a lot harder for people to maintain and develop their property. In my opinion, there are some density issues in this area, particularly on next to the railroad tracks, where there's a 4-unit apartment being developed in a kind of a 2-unit or one house and granny apartment. But I think that the problems that we have are not really design guidelines issues. They're more issues of zoning and density. I just want to say that it will be hard for me to support this if we get down into the weeds with do your neighbors like the design of your porch addition. I think that will be overbearing and it'll make it a lot harder for everyone to live here. And that's about all I have to say.
Thank you, Doug.
I think that's a good caution, but the committee should take that into consideration. But
Mr. Smith? No? Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Janelle?
All right.
Janelle?
Yes. Hi. So for me, I think that if we do end up getting a list of exactly what this means, and it's approved by the people in our community, then I think this will resolve so many of my concerns. I think that's been the tricky part with this, is that we're given just outlines and ideas of what it could be, which don't seem to align with what the purpose of this is. So I think that it will give a lot of clarity and transparency to kind of put everybody's mind at ease. So I think going that route of really defining what we want and how to get there would be really helpful.
Okay. Comments from the board. I have three people that have come outright and said that they would look to be part of that planning committee, the initial one.
Yeah, and I actually just saw Janelle had emailed to say that she and Joel are interested as well.
Good. I think that I shall reach out to them and have them instruct them to get it started.
I think that sounds great. Will one of us be kind of involved in an advisory role? How do you want to have that structured?
You and I are both members of the neighborhood, and I don't know how involved you want to get with it. I certainly would be here to consult, but and I'd welcome the opportunity to do that. But I don't want to take the lead on this. I want the neighborhood to do it.
Yeah, I honestly, I wish I had time to say I would be able to be involved, but unless I drop the Black Heritage Park, I don't know that I can commit to that, and I don't want to drop that. So, but I would love to, kind of write up some of my ideas and kind of share that with the group, and maybe, John, you or I could alternate kind of being involved in meetings as they happen, or, however that makes the most sense to do.
Yeah, at some point, I think if we need to, we could get somebody else from we've got a member from the Historic District Commission in here too, I think. But I think this is a good starting point. Let's engage these four folks and then have them engage the rest of the neighborhood, and you and I can participate on an outside level.
I think it would be very good if one or both of you were available, because it would head off some of the questions that would then come back to us, and then we would have to, as a committee, say, well, no, that's not quite what what the desire was of the original intention. I think you'd be able to provide either one of you or both a resource for them to say, no, we're not trying to decide what color paint you're going to put on the house, that sort of thing.
I agree, and I think Amora and I think in agreement that if the majority of the folks living in this area don't want to do this, we're not going to try to force it down their throat.
But you two would be able to gauge that better than at least I would.
And I think that's what I'm saying. We'll be there as kind of parents to this. Okay, I feel a lot better about this.
I'll be there as a grandparent.
Yeah, John, you can be the grandparent.
Okay, I'll be the grandparent. We've been in this neighborhood for 45, 46 years. You know, this house, we've seen a lot happen here, and Nancy and I are liking it more and more. We're just thrilled that we have children in the neighborhood now again. There's a lot, and we'd like to protect it.
Yeah, I've lived in this neighborhood since 1983.
Yeah.
So, and now my kids live here. You know, and there's a reason that I decided to raise my family here.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Is there any more comment with this?
I see Janelle still has her hand raised. Janelle, I don't know if you want to make an additional comment or if that's just left up. Nope. Okay.
Okay. All right. If that, we'll end the discussion on the neighborhood heritage area. We'll get that moving. I asked Julie to comment on Renee Allen's Green Minute postings for April. Is that something we can arrange from Exeter TV to do more?
Yeah, I think so. Renee said that Bob and or whoever else at Exeter TV was doing some filming for any of the committees who wanted to do the Green Minute. So if Julie is able and willing to do it, I think she can just get in touch with Bob and schedule it, and he'll make a time with her to film.
Yeah, I think it's a good
we can
idea.
make that work. Yeah,
thanks, Garrett.
Contact Bob directly.
Okay. All right. Is there any other business?
I don't think so.
Well,
what's the demolition review update? It's on the agenda.
If we haven't got any.
Okay.
Which is good news.
That's the update. There isn't any.
It's always nice when we don't have a demolition review.
Right.
Well, that being said, and no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hi.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch.
You.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good